Hi, my name is Crystal Curtis, and I'm a mentor at Mentive. This week's question is coming from Jake in Washington, D.C. So Jake wants to know, what are the differences between test-driven development and behavior-driven development, or TDD and BDD? So TDD, test-driven development, is all about making sure your code works. So instead of just sitting down at the editor and writing a bunch of code whenever you want to add a new feature to your software, what you're going to do instead is start out by writing a test. So let's say you wanted to write a small function that takes the average of a list of numbers. So instead of just sitting down and writing out the function, what you would do is you would write a test. So you would say, you would write down your list of numbers, and then you would say the result of the function should be, let's say 5. Okay, so you would run your test. Of course, it's going to fail because you haven't written any code yet. So then what you would do is you would write the function, the average function, and you would then you would run your test again, and you would see, does my test pass? If your test passed, that's great. Now you can refactor your function if you want to. If you think maybe your function wasn't as concise as it should be, or you could have used different libraries, what have you. If your test failed, then you can go back and say, oh, I have a bug in my code. What can I do to make it better and actually compute this average correctly? So that's the basic idea of test-driven development. And it's a really great idea to do it rather than just sitting down and hacking, because instead of spending a bunch of time debugging your code after you've written it, you're going to think through kind of the way you want your code to work in advance and all the different corner cases you might expect to encounter. Like, let's say, for example, what happens if you pass in an empty list to the average function? What do you want it to do? Instead of realizing things like that after you've already written the code and having to kind of go back and hack it in, you anticipate those cases in the beginning when you're still thinking through the process, and you can really just make sure you've thought of everything and you've written it all down to kind of help you think through everything. Okay, so that's the basic idea of test-driven development. Now, BDD, behavior-driven development, it's a similar idea. It's a little more high level. Basically, the idea is, instead of focusing so much on does my code work, BDD is more focused on, is my code doing the right thing? So BDD, the idea is that you want to sit down with your client. It could be an external client. It could be people on, say, the business side of the company that you're within. And you're going to want to say, what is this software supposed to do? So, for example, let's say you have an online shopping app, and one of the behaviors that you want your app to do is email a customer a reminder if they've left items in their shopping cart without buying them. So that would be a type of behavior that the client, the business people within the organization would say, we want to make sure the software is doing a certain thing. And there are various high-level languages that you can use. One of them is Cucumber for encoding requirements. And this is typically done in kind of a sit-down meeting between the developers and the clients. So you write down all the requirements, and then the developers can kind of go back and turn those requirements into tests, and then kind of iterate on that test-driven development process that I described earlier. So I hope you found this response helpful. Feel free to ask me any other questions, and check out what classes I'm teaching at Mentive. Just follow the link in the description below.